Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another interesting combination that we haven't tested yet, and I'm excited to see what it can give us because I definitely have some high hopes for it, although we haven't tested these shells through this constriction of choke yet, so I don't know if they're going to like it or if they're just going to prefer a little bit different choke, so we'll see what happens. But as for the shells I brought out here today, I got out some more of the Kinetic Gunwerks loads, but these ones are their 28 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 1 3/8 ounce payload of TSS 9s, moving about 1150 feet per second. We've tested our fair share of kinetic shells here recently with some really nice performances, and these 28 gauge loads have also given us a couple nice patterns, so we'll see if they like today's choke constriction or not. But as for today's setup, I brought out my Tristar Viper. This has been a very nice performing combination for us here recently. We've seen a number of really impressive patterns from it, but for the choke we've got, I threw in the Carlson's Turkey 520. It's not any of their special, long beard or heavyweight choke or anything like that. It's their standard 520 constriction turkey choke, and it has shown us some really nice results before, so we'll see if these kinetic shells actually like the 520 constriction compared to the 515s we have been testing them through. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. Turkey targets at 40 yards, and I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity from the shells. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see how these kinetic 1 3/8 ounce 9s can do through this Tristar Viper with the 520 Carlsons. Is it going to be the perfect combination? I don't know, but let's take our shot and see what kind of a pattern it gives us. Alright, so that shell gave us 1,085 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1,150, so we didn't quite see that claim, but still just shy of 1,100 is a perfectly fine velocity for these shells to be at. But what kind of a pattern did they give us down there at 40? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, yeah, right off the bat, we were just a touch high on the paper, but that was probably me, considering this is a relatively new shotgun to me. Either way, we do still have a dead turkey here. There is one through the brain, and a couple more right around the edges of the brain, and just touching the spine there, so you would have still gotten the job done if this was the shot you took. Now, I will back up here, and I will go ahead and put a 10-inch circle up in the center of our pattern where our core is, so you guys can see what we're actually looking at, because it's not bad. It's a little more of a broad spread, a little bit more of an even spread, not anything super overly tight, or it doesn't have a baseball looking core like some of the combos we've seen recently, but that is a solid hunting pattern. It's going to be just fine out at 40 yards, and it's going to give you a little more breathing room in at 20 or 25 yards as well. So that's not bad overall. So moving in here and looking at our actual core, there's really not a whole lot of voids or anything in there to be concerned with. It's just kind of an even spread of pellets. The only maybe void I see is just to the right of that little hole punched right in the top of that turkey paper, right along the edge right there, but that's nothing major at all. A turkey's not going to make it through that. So the central 10 or 12 inches right there, that's a very solid huntable pattern all day long. Around the edges, we do open it up a little bit. We do start to pick up a couple little splotchy bits or voids, maybe a few flyers and stuff like all the way down there at the bottom of the paper, and maybe one over there off the far left. And here's another good void right here just off the left of that turkey paper. So around the outer edges of the pattern, it does get a little bit more broad, but it's a 520 constriction choke, and we haven't tested these shells through a 520 yet to see what they would do. And it just seems like if you're one of those people that want a super tight hot pattern, these are probably going to prefer a 515 constriction. But for somebody that wants a little more breathing room, a little more leeway, because they're most likely going to be taking shots inside of 30 yards or so, that is a more than good enough combination, and it would be perfectly fine to 40 yards as well, and you could probably push that to 45 and still be okay. So that is not a terrible pattern by any means. I wouldn't hesitate to turkey hunt with that combination, but I think there's kind of going to be a little bit of 50-50 about it. Some people are going to want tighter. Some people are going to say that's their perfect hunting pattern, and both are very viable opinions. So I would say these kinetic shells do perfectly fine through that Carlson's 520, but it does show signs of wanting a little more constriction as well, mainly just around those edges and stuff. It gets a little bit broad right around there, but we still have a nice even core to work with, so that just tells me 515 is probably where these want to live if you want a little more perfect of a pattern. But still, absolutely usable, would get the job done perfectly fine. And these kinetic shells, we know there's some good performers. So if this is the combination you had, then yeah, you could absolutely take it out on a 40-yard turkey hunt and feel perfectly fine about doing it. So not bad as far as a pattern goes today, but not quite as tight as what we have seen out of these shells previously. And here's the wad from that shell. Definitely nothing too fancy about it. There's nothing stuck down in there except the little fiber piece is still in there this particular time, but there's no major damage except this one petal opened a little farther than the rest, but that's nothing too big to take note of here, so it looks perfectly fine overall. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that pattern right there? I'd say it's a pretty solid performer. It's a little bit more open choke at 520, so I expected to see a little bit more of an open pattern, and realistically, I think that's pretty much what I thought we would get out of these. A little bit more of a broad pattern. It's still got a nice even core to it, but it does give you a little more wiggle room to work with, which for some people, that's going to be their perfect hunting pattern. For other people, they might want it a little bit tighter than that, and we've definitely seen tighter than that with those kinetic shells before, from a 515 choke, so we know they can get tighter if you wanted them to. But still, that's a solid performance that I wouldn't hesitate to take out on a hunt. So leave all your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Kinetic 28 gauge shells, and if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is that a pattern that you would hunt with, or is it maybe a little bit too open for you? And what other shells or choke combos do you want to see us run with either those Kinetic shells or that Carlson's 520 choke? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.